Welcome to the Success Scenario. I'm your host, Dustin Abrego. On the Success Scenario, we meet and hear from current LCC students, people just like you who have faced challenges, why they chose LCC, and how they turned their situation into a successful one. Hello, and welcome back to the Success Scenario. I'm your host, Dustin Abrego. This week, I'm joined with
Dar Pung.
Good to see you. For everyone else that doesn't know you, because we've been working together for a minute, tell people a little about yourself. Is this your first time in college?
Yes, this is my first college.
Straight out of high school, then you came here?
Yep, from Waverly to LCC.
Going to college in general can be a big transition for anyone. What was that like for you?
Waverly is a pretty small school. So, I mean, it's big, but it's small. It feels small.
Gotcha.
Coming here, it's like a lot of walking and a lot of schedule keeping more than usual from high school anyway.
Do you work as well as being a student or?
Yeah, I work with Balance MI Skills. They work with higher needs students across the state.
So what do you do there?
I help facilitate classes and get events together so higher needs students can get together and talk to each other.
Okay, that sounds like fun, doing some social stuff like that. What are you studying? What's your current major plan, or where are you at with that? Because this is your second year, right?
Yep, this is my second year. I'm going to get my general associate's degree and then go work for a little bit. And then I'll decide if I want to go back to school or not.
Sounds great. When we first started working with each other and meeting with each other, and again, coming out of high school, not 100% sure what you wanted to do and everything overall, what was that like for you when you first came in?
Overwhelming, to say the least. The biggest challenge was scheduling. From high school, you have all these people that kind of micromanage you. And then coming to college, not even a bigger college, but a community college, and being like, okay, make your own schedule, get to classes on time, get your own ride here.
I do agree with you of you saying that, when I've worked with students, or heck, even myself, the bell goes off, you go to this place, people tell you where to go, don't stand in the hallway, do whatever. And then we come to college or the workforce or whatever, and we're like, all right, hey, it's all on you now. All right, bye. See you later. And you're like, we didn't practice this. This was not I know how to do fire drills. I know how to stand in line. You taught me all that stuff, but where's the, I do this on my own type deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So
coming out of the pandemic, you were fully online at that point, or what did that look like for you?
So I, in high school, had a 504 borderline IEP for anxiety. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go to college, I'm going to be a fully online student and just try to graduate that way. And then as I got more confident in myself, I think I realized, hey, I need to do this college thing more seriously. Take myself seriously and do needs that I need.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? What you said, take yourself seriously.
I think people my age kind of just do what people tell them to do. And you got to look inside yourself and be like, hey, this is what I need right now. And I think, like I said, a lot of people my age don't do that.
Do you think it's maybe because they're never asked, they're scared of it? I don't have to worry about that today. I mean, for me, that was I'll figure that out tomorrow. And then that kept happening until I was 24. And I was like, oh, this is my life. Panic.
Yep.
So was there a certain thing for you?
It wasn't my family forcing expectations, but more I was forcing expectations. I was first going to be an auto mechanic. And then I figured out, nope, I don't want to do that, because I wasn't respecting myself. So I took a second year during high school of the career center. I regret that a lot, because I could have done something way different.
You regretted trying something and being yeah, I like this. And you're like, oh, I was lying to myself. I don't like that at all.
Exactly.
Okay. When we first met though, were you still going down that path?
The first half of the semester, I was an automotive student, but just taking my gen eds. And then I switched my major over to general associates. And then I switched it to teaching. And then last semester, I figured out, nope, I don't think I want to teach. I like helping students in high school, but I think I need a team more. And that's not saying high school doesn't have a team, but you're by yourself in the classroom with 24 kids or 30.
So having a team of figuring out what works for you, what doesn't. Was it hard maybe changing your major a few different times? I feel like people either hey, it's the flavor of the week, I don't care, see you later. Or they're if I change this, I can't not do something like this.
I think people get stuck on their major. They choose a major and then they assume they have to stay with it the whole time. I don't think that's correct. I think you got to try things out for yourself. You're younger. It's your time. Just try things out before it's too late.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. This is your time to be like, nope.
Make mistakes. It's fine. You know, you make a mistake, you move on.
Yeah. And like, you don't want to go into it and then be like, oh, wait, I hate this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's really just being honest with yourself. And like, sometimes you're like, I really don't like this. And people will be like, it's the instructor, it's this, it's whatever. And it's like, do you like doing this? And it's like,
yeah, I don't think that gets asked often enough. It's always someone else's fault.
okay.
And then, but you really just need to look inside yourself and be like, okay, is it me? Because if I'm not liking this, then it could be any amount of reasons.
Yeah, no, totally, for sure. How did you go about prioritizing yourself as a student? Like you said, you're very like, maybe you have the high school mindset because you were coming out of high school. That makes total sense, right? And then trying to pick stuff for yourself. How did you go to prioritizing doing great like you are now? I know that you're doing well.
So I actually got my family to do an online calendar on my phone.
Okay.
A calendar that updates real time and everyone puts their stuff in, including classes. I think that really helped, having a calendar or like a book or something to keep track of your time. And also, like we talk about a lot, putting time for yourself, because I struggle with that a lot.
What was it like before you did the calendar?
Oh, it was chaos. It literally, I'd be like, oh, do I have class today? I don't know. It's like the first week and I'm unsure. And then I would like write it down on note cards and I had lost the note cards. And yeah, it was just chaos.
It's only me and you in the room recording right now. But like when I laugh, I wasn't laughing at you because you just stared off into the abyss. You went, that was the before time. Like that was the way that like you treated it. And it was like, I would rather not. So now having the schedule and everything, was it like it flipped a switch for you and it was all over from that point? Or was it like a slow lead up after you even started getting the calendar? Because you didn't just do it yourself. You went, hey, family, which is a whole other hurdle of like life and like getting along with family. It's just the thing, right? It's family, right? So like.
Yeah. So I talked to my dad and I'm like, we need a calendar that isn't on the wall because you can't look at the wall when you're, you know, somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. So we researched it and then found Cozy actually is the app I use.
Other than just saying like, hey, we need this, was there like pushback from family at first? Again, not looking to throw your family under the bus. That's not what I'm asking. It's just like,
I'll throw them under a bus.
Oh, okay, perfect. For any of the other people that do listen to this, like that's the whole point, is like talking with students that like are maybe like, oh, you know, I've tried that too. And then people were like, no, these reasons, X, Y, Z. Were they resistant at first? What was it?
It was actually not doing it. Like, oh, I just forgot to. I'm like, just do it when you think about it. And then it becomes a habit. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is making habits that stick. Because it takes like, I think it's like 21 or 27 days to make a habit. And it takes about 3 days to break it.
Is it only 3 days to break it?
It's really low.
Oh, that's uncomfortable. Okay.
It's maybe not 3 days, but like really low to like get out of a habit.
So at this point now, have the family held you accountable when you sometimes forget?
Yes.
Oh boy, how's that go?
It's kind of like you're looking at them and they're like, you forgot to put this in the calendar. And I'm like, oh shoot, I told you that like 3 months ago. And it's like, okay, all right.
We recognize that it's not your birthday because you didn't put it in the calendar. And you're like, I get a cake, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. When I say prioritize calendar, very easy one, right? Makes sense, come to mind. How do you prioritize, I guess, yourself or yourself as a student? Because those are like two things. And we've talked about that several different times.
I know this won't work for some people, but making sure your work schedule isn't too overwhelming. Some people need to work more hours to, you know, make ends meet. I'm fortunate enough not to be in that situation.
Sure.
Like I took classes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays I can work. It comes back to the schedule thing. But I think the other thing is, as a student, recognizing that it takes a certain amount of work per day. It's like a budget of time. Maybe you have like 3 hours before work. Well, maybe you need to take half of that and do some homework and then take the other half and do something for yourself. That way you're not like overwhelmed and just working 7 days a week on schoolwork and work.
100%. I think when you explain that of like, oh, well, I'll just like work for 7 days and whatever. And I was like, you're going to hate this. Like, why would you choose to do something? And then that's just going to further demotivate you. And this is coming from a person that like made the wrong choices many a years in college. And it is like the habit thing, like you talked about too, like you're going to fall off sometimes. And that's okay. Because now you know, oh, I can also get back on. Going back to what you were saying about how this allotment for time. And you said, I know that I pushed this phrase on you, but like, time for yourself. Can you explain to other people what that means or what that means to you, I guess, so everyone else understands?
So I know we talked about it a lot because I struggled with me time. So when we first were talking, it was like, okay, how much time did you take for you? I'm like, oh, I took like 15 minutes this week. And you're like, that's not enough. You know, I remember you saying that just straight up, just snapping it at me. That's not enough. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I care about you, and that's why I was very straightforward. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. Sometimes you just need that bluntness.
How did you take that when I said that?
It's a slap in the face for sure, and then you feel embarrassed, but you get over yourself, and then you realize, hey, maybe I need to do that.
And when I'm saying that, I'm also like, I'm telling you, stop working, go do something fun for an hour. You were describing it as a slap in the face, which is fair. But also I'm saying, go have fun. And you're like, how dare he? How dare he tell me to chill out for an hour when you are doing that in the best practice? Because I don't do it the best either every day, right? Sometimes things happen. You're like, oh my gosh. But when you're like doing stuff for yourself, what does it look like for you? Because it's different for every person.
For me, it's The Sims. I'll set a timer, 30 minutes, and then, you know, play with the little family or whatever. And then I'll be like, okay, back to reality. Okay, get back to work or whatever. But I make sure to take at least an hour a day if I have the time.
Yeah, of course.
But try to prioritize like me time. And that doesn't include basic needs.
Yes.
So like showering, eating, sleeping, that is not the hour. That's not allowed. Except if it's a bubble bath, because you know I like bubble baths.
Hey, own it.
Yeah. That doesn't count.
Sure. Yeah. I guess if we're like referencing like when we first started talking about this and I was like eating and sleeping and required to be alive, that doesn't count. And then also this, I imagine that just trying to wrap your head around like, I don't want to say the chaos, but like if it's not written down, it might feel like chaos. Basically, you need to fit these other things in as well, where you're just like, I can't do that. That's unattainable. That's unrealistic.
When you first said it to me, it was like a shock because because in high school, you're just taught to work through it and just keep going. And then you crash and they're like, well, why did you crash? When you said that, it was a shock because it was like, oh, I got to take care of myself and not just basic needs, like actual mental needs.
Yeah. I feel like this is like outing myself and like this is going to be like, well, Dar testified that like you were not a very nice person and you actually but asking those questions because like I probably said this before at some point of like, do you think you're worth an hour of the day? Because I think all of us, like if we do like our culture and we go like, oh, American dream. And it's like, well, I burn myself out and then I go sit on a beach, but then I'm also like twitching there, non-functioning because I burned myself out so hard. I was like, that sounds awful. Like, why would I do that? Like,
you're just worrying about what work you have to do when you get back.
Because it doesn't shut off. You act like you can suddenly have a different habit. I'm not going to like untie my shoe and then retie it in a way I've never done it before. Like, I can't do that. Like,
I think when we first were talking, you started, and I recommend a Success Coach all the way through. Like, Success Coach, academic advisor, go to them, make appointments. Even if you know what you're doing with your classes or your goals, meeting with those people and actually like talking it out is so helpful. And then if there's a flaw in the plan, you catch it. I recommend it all the way.
Thank you.
But
thank you for my job.
But you kept saying it over and over and over. Take you time, take you time, take you time. It became a habit of taking me time. And then I would always be excited to report to you oh, look, I made a Sims family and did a challenge in The Sims for like an hour. And then I got back to work and I was so productive. And I think that's exciting to hear for you.
Oh my God, yeah.
But also it's exciting to hear for me to be succeeding at goals and then like looking forward to telling people, hey, I did that. And if you don't succeed at your goals, it's still like, again, make mistakes and then move on.
The only time you don't succeed is when you give up. Keep moving and having that momentum. And like when someone is super stressed out, like, yes, it is fulfilling for me in the sense that I'm helping you maybe get over like a mental hurdle of different things, because I didn't do the work. To be honest, it's going to make it sound like I didn't do anything, but I'm like, all I did was like write it out and kind of show it on a mirror. And I go, you said this. Did you say this? And you went, nope, that's not me. And I go, this is what you told me. And you go, crap. Because ultimately the end of it is you're going to graduate thrilled, right? It's going to be super great. We're not going to work together anymore in the future. Right. And like, that's okay. But you now have all the systems and things that you can do for what you do in the future. And you know how to scale the system and do things in different ways. Like if I were to be like, oh, it was all inside you, everything was a dream and everything. But like, you are the same person that you are now. You're still the person that I met, but I think this person was in you. Right. And maybe you didn't believe it, but like, I was like, no, you can do this. And you're like, nope. And I'm like, yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. You're okay. It'll be fine. It'll be all right. So what is something that, since your time being a student, that you're proud about? I wrote a really awesome paper that Professor Clower, just going to call her out. She's like, submit this to the land scholars. And I won. When was this? I did the presentation last week. I was going to say, I was like, I have not heard of this. I'm very excited. So first of all, I came here to LCC, not a good writer. And then through multiple professors, I got better. I think I peaked at writing this paper about Mary Oliver, who's my favorite poet. She's super cool. Also, she's has a partner that's a woman, so it's like perfect. Gay stuff. I love it. Yeah. So anyway, so I wrote about her because my dad had just broken up with his fiance, and I like really loved her a lot. So like we read this poem, and it's like, you could cry right now, but you also could move on and do great things. And it was like, oh, yeah, I need that right now. So I wrote about her. And then my professor's like, hey, could you submit this? Because this is really good. And then I won I'm one of the scholars for the land contest out of like 9. So like it's across community colleges across the state. So I'm really proud of that. I'm also really proud of helping my other students, like other people in my class. Like last semester, I was like the notes person in one of my classes. But that feels good because I showed up to almost every class and they'd be like, oh shoot, I had work this day. Can you give me the notes that day? And like helping other students out, that feels good. That's so cool. Yeah. I'm like grinning like an idiot. I'm really happy over here for you. But like, because when you were like, oh, a paper and like a scholarship and stuff, I was like, you don't like writing papers. Nope. And I was like, I'm thrilled, but I was like, who? Dar? Really? Like, sweet. Okay. That's so cool. Like, is there like more rounds of it moving forward? Is it you're just like a scholar of this now? Or yeah. Like, how does that work? I think, because I'm still talking with my professor about it. I get this like award in the mail or whatever, and it's just fancy, and I get to put it on my resume. That's so cool. Yeah. I think it's really cool. I mean, everyone else like had this really scientific paper that they did. And then I pop up and I'm like, hey, Mary Oliver isn't actually a romanticism poet. And then and everyone's just like, oh, because everyone else's was like, here's some proof to back that up. And I'm like, what if we did analysis? Oh. And that felt good because like mine was very different. But also I was freaked out because everyone else before me was like, here's some facts. And I'm freaking out over here shaking in my boots. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So when the teacher called you up or the instructor or whatever, you were like, yeah, I went from shaking in my boots to standing confidently in them. So here's a more deep question I think we talked about. What would you tell first semester self knowing what you know now? Take in-person classes. Really? Yep. Okay.
you know what, if online works better for you, that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
But I think you should at least have one in-person class just to try it out, just so you can have that interaction with people. Because I was a fully online student for like a year.
Yeah,
and
of course.
It felt okay because I had like online real time, but it wasn't the same. And then I had to take an in-person one, and it changed my whole view.
Would you, first semester, you have listened?
Nope. Absolutely not.
Why not?
I'm very stubborn.
Oh, okay.
So you're like, I already know that.
No,
Shush.
no.
So no, I get very stubborn and set in my ways. I actually am diagnosed with OCD.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I'm set on something, it's just over. Like, it's hard to get me to change it. And I'm really flexible now, but high school me would have.
Really?
Yeah, I was so set in my ways that no one could talk me out of it. And then I started getting more flexible. Actually, I was taking classes through MRS, Michigan Rehabilitation Services. One of the things they talked about was flexibility. And they basically called me out. They're like, hey, so you got to be more flexible. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm rocking back and forth. I'm like, no, reality's breaking.
So then you were like, if I say no to this, then I'm not flexible. And then like, they got me. Then we figured out.
They figured me out. So no, I worked on it really hard, just being like, okay, change the plans by 15 minutes, starting with that. Because again, I have diagnosed OCD.
Yeah.
Doing like 15-minute changes in your schedule just to throw yourself off and be like, okay, it's fine. It's only 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That really helped.
I don't remember that we've been working together for over a year. Like, I don't remember you sharing that with me. So thank you for sharing overall. And to your point, and not minimizing in any way, but like, I only viewed you as being set in your ways with like coming to class in person. But like, I also knew that like you, like a bunch of other high schoolers, were like virtual for a while and like pandemic and trying to be safe. So like, I totally understood that. But like, I've always viewed you as being pretty flexible and just, it's a lot to try to take in.
I was not that way for a long time.
Okay.
And I'm unashamed of like my diagnosis.
Sure.
Of
yeah,
like,
own it.
Of like depression and anxiety and OCD. And I think that's another thing, like the stigma with that is so rough. But I think if you realize you have those things and try to not work through it, but work with it.
Okay. Talk to me more about that. What do you mean by that?
You know, you have one of those days where you don't want to get out of bed and you're like, okay, I'm going to get out of bed in 10 minutes. I'll be 10 minutes late to class, but at least I went to class. So it's sort of like that. You know, you work with it, not against it, not get rid of it, just with it because you have it. It's just working with it.
And you work with someone as well.
Oh, yeah. I have a therapist
awesome.
and a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So
realizing you're not alone when trying to navigate these things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Me and my therapist go through this all the time. She's like, okay, so what can you do to work with it instead of against it? And that took years.
Yeah, of course. Students come up with all kinds of different things when they come in. Like we all come in with like our own things we're either working through or things that even happen to us while we're being a college student, right? And then navigating that makes total sense. And I think your advice is really spot on of like working with it, which is huge. So thank you for sharing that. And then also knowing you're not alone when working through something, like knowing that like, hey, I don't 100% know all these things. Like, let me talk to a professional. Makes total sense.
Yeah. Like I said, like you're saying, like you're not alone. Like if you have a diagnosis, especially a mental one, I'm here. I'm doing it. You got this, you know? Sometimes you just need to hear that.
For sure. Thank you. To end on, what would you tell others who are maybe thinking about starting, coming to community college, and they're like, like I'm not sure, or like coming to LCC and they're like, I don't know. This is not like a plug to sell the school, but like, what would you tell someone that was kind of maybe on the fence about coming here or not?
So I actually know someone that's kind of on the fence. So the first thing I told them was like, just try it. You know, they're over 25, so there's that program.
Michigan Reconnect.
Yep. So I'm like, just try a semester. If you don't like it, you can you can go. Like you can go back and do what you were doing, but you got to give it a shot. When I was graduating high school, I told my parents, I was like, or my dad, I was like, I'm not going to college. Screw that. I'm not going. And then I think I just like woke up one morning and I'm like, I got to go to college.
Oh no, my college timer went off. I got to go. See you guys later.
So I signed up, and then like when I got accepted, I told my dad. He's like, I thought you weren't going to college. And I'm like, no, I am. I am now. I'm officially an LCC student.
Take that, Dad. Now I'm going to be college, Dar.
Yep.
So just try it out.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my mindset. Like when I woke up, I'm like, oh shoot, I got to try this. I was inspired by one of my instructors actually at the Wilson Talent Center that used to be the Career Center. He was working full time and taking LCC classes.
Really?
And he's like, well, just try it, you know, even if you don't go into the automotive field, because I was going for automotive at that point. He's like, just try to get your gen eds and just go do it and meet people and do it.
Yeah. Your friend that you said, like, you don't need to out their name or anything, right? Keep it secret, right? Have they tried, or are they going to sign up, or?
They're still on the fence. So they haven't yet.
Okay.
But we definitely talked, and I was like, you should just go for it. They have the program that will pay for most of it, and it won't cost you too much, especially if you're working.
Yeah.
So like, just go for it.
Anything you want to leave people with, like any of the things that you've talked about? We talked about a lot of stuff today. Things that you're like, you know, I really want people to understand this, or this is what meant a lot to me that I want people to remember.
You're not alone in this. Starting college can be really scary because you're kind of on your own with some things. I know community college can be like a little half step towards like a whole university, but even that half step is really scary, and you just take it one day at a time, and you just keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
You're not alone.
You're not. We got you. We're here for you. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Dar. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to the Success Scenario. You can listen to this episode and past episodes anytime online at lccconnect.org. The Success Scenario is a program dedicated to inspiring students towards a path of success. I'm Dustin Abrego, and if you're a current LCC student with a great story to share, or know someone with a story to share, connect with me on Twitter or at LinkedIn at Dustin Abrego, Abrego. Until next time, success starts with you.